At the age of 5, my hatred for mosquitoes had officially formed. Why are they so annoying? Those little creatures always find the worst places to bite you. To list a few, your ankles, your toes, in between your fingers, and your butt. And before any of you guys assume anything, 5-year-old me was on a camping trip and really needed to pop a squat and let her stomach rest. Don't tell me you haven't been there. Until this day, I still complain about hating mosquitoes. And my dad always ends up telling me, "Lu me tong gle, rao kemek chop kanan," translating to, we don't hate, we only dislike. And in my 5-year-old brain, I was thinking, what's the difference? What's so wrong about hating these nasty creatures that bite my butt? However, thanks to my AP composition class, I'm starting to realize that we can't necessarily use hate and dislike as synonyms. A 2020 Medium article explains that we use the word hate so much, and often in the wrong context, that it no longer has any meaning. We have blurred the lines between hating and disliking, and that is why it is so important that we reestablish the bright light of hating versus disliking. So today, we'll spray on our mosquito repellent and learn the distinction between dislike and hate. We will then discuss the implications until finally equip ourselves with ways on how we can better become humans of disliking instead of hating. When my dad called me out for using the word hate, my stubborn older cousins immediately objected and went to the online dictionary. They triumphantly stated that these two words are shown to be similar. The only difference? Intensity. For example, the definition of dislike is to feel distaste for or hostility towards, while the definition of hate is intense dislike or ill will. Even the online dictionary seems to think that these two words are conceptually the same. However, they aren't at all that similar. Kit Cassingham, a coach for life aspiration, explains that hate is and should be a very strong word. Hate is consuming. It takes up all of your thoughts and passion. When you hate, you can't clear your mind, and the feeling of hatred interrupts you every minute of every day. And eventually, hate can cause people to do things that are unimaginable. And we can see this analogy with the KKK. The University of Washington explains that members of the KKK work every day to eradicate people of color and Catholics off of this earth. They have so much hatred filled up for these people that it cannot clear their mind, and the feeling interrupts them every second of every day. Tyndale Martin, however, explains that disliking isn't as personal. You can dislike for any number of reasons, such as an appearance, a remark, or a feeling. To dislike doesn't consume you as hate would. It's more of a preference or matter of choice that one makes and moves on from. So if I say I hate spinach, that statement is false. I actually dislike spinach. I don't prefer it, and it's not my first choice. But I'm not going to make my whole life about spinach. Disliking, in a way, is potentially productive. It moves you on to an improved place, while hate is destructive both physically and mentally. PBS shows an example that can demonstrate how distinctive these two words are. In their article, they mention Dylan Ruff, who gunned down a church because the people attending the church were Black Americans. This was a hate crime, not a crime of disliking. The way that hate can influence impulsive decision shows that the difference between the two words is so much more distinctive than we actually think. But how does one get to the point of hatred? How did society come to be of such a hating culture? One of the biggest influences in the world, Nelson Mandela, answers those questions in the best way possible. People must learn to hate. No one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin, his background, or his religion. The reason why we have such a huge hating culture is because each generation directly witnessed and grew up with hate. And blurring the lines between the two words is a contributing factor. As more and more people believe that hate and dislike are in the same meaning, the more normalized hate is going to be. The use of the word hate is dangerous, and the impact of it isn't as understood. And we can see how powerful the word hate is when looking at numbers on suicide. Dr. Victor Fernari, the vice chair of child and adolescent psychiatry, compared emergency room visits by suicidal adolescents. These visits went from 250 in 1982 to 8,000 in 2020. Dr. Furnari explains that the reasoning behind this increase is because kids are now vulnerable to critical comments like, "I hate you." And these comments are like harpoons to their hearts every single time. Pranshu, a 16-year-old queer artist from India, died by suicide after hate comments were being said on his Instagram. The comment section was flooded with over 4,000 homophobic remarks, and words such as hate were included, because the people in that comment section venomously opposed to Pranshu's lifestyle. He decided to end his own life. When you tell someone you hate them, you are actively telling them you would rather have them dead than have them in your own presence. The use of the word hate is both damaging and toxic. That is why normalizing the word dislike is an incentive to construct our hating society into a disliking one. The reason why I am so adamant on replacing hatred with dislikeness is because of the problems I witnessed my own family members face. My family are Karen refugees from Myanmar, and according to the Department of Human Services, many of the Karen, alongside with the Rohingya Muslims, have fled Myanmar due to religious and ethnic persecution. To flee from the harassment and oppression, my family had to run, seek, and hide out for shelter as the Burmese military men killed people right in front of their faces. With this cultural genocide, 250,000 Karen people have been displaced, and over 35,000 of my people have been killed. It's scary when we hear stories of genocides, but it's especially scary when those stories come from our own families. But this mass genocide was rooted from one thing: hate. It takes one person to have enough hatred filled up to start the mass killings of thousands. Hate can cause people to do things that are unimaginable. It is never okay to hate, but we are slowly allowing these kinds of activities to be normalized in our society. So, how do we solve this problem? I know it's super hypocritical of me to say we need to stop hating, because just a few minutes ago I was yapping on about how much I hate mosquitoes. But if I applied the distinction between dislike and hate, I didn't actually hate mosquitoes, I just dislike them. And I have no reason to hate mosquitoes. I mean, yeah, I was itching my butt for a week, but mosquitoes are actually really important. I know, it's crazy. The National Wildlife Federation website told me all about it. But it just proves to show that nothing or no one really deserves to be hated. Most problems are rooted from hatred. And if we hate a problem with hatred, it's a never-ending cycle that isn't going to solve anything. That is why it is so crucial that we become humans of disliking. Disliking is more productive and can better help us make decisions on trying to solve an issue at hand, instead of acting on the impulse from hate, and because we are taught to hate. Stopping the spread of hate is so important. Even after my family had fled from Myanmar, my family was scared of facing hatred and discrimination in America. And don't get me wrong, we love this country, and there is no other place we would choose to be in. But hatred in America is a real issue, and addressing hate in our communities is so crucial. The United States Department of Justice mentions community policing, which is all about creating and fostering partnerships within the community to combat crime, improve public safety, and respond to hate. However, with this solution, everyone in the community needs to be involved. It is so important to include those groups and those diverse groups in those communities that are prone to hatred. Another way we can better become humans of disliking is not using the word hate on a daily basis. I know it sounds super silly, but when we use the word hate often, the impact of the word isn't as powerful. The word just simply rolls off the tongue, causing hatred in our society to be normalized. So instead of throwing the word hate around, like how a frat boy throws the word bruh around, replace it with dislike. A 2020 Medium article explains that we have become desensitized to the meaning of the word hate. Hate should be reserved for those actions in our society that are unacceptable. The word hate is too potent and carries too much baggage to be thoughtlessly tossed around. So today, we found out the distinction between hate and dislike. We then talked about the implications until finally, we now know we need to become better humans of disliking instead of hating. I'm glad to say I finally understand Lumetonggle, or alchemic chop kanan, because in the end, we simply are just humans who dislike.